Today, experimenting with watercolors and with a technique I've been doing already for years, and it's by far one of my nicest and coolest techniques ever. Welcome to my channel, it's Asia Marquet here, a Lemon Creation. I hope you're having a beautiful Sunday. It's raining here. So it's time to craft, and actually this film I made today, and I made the edition today, and I'm gonna post it today. So I'm working in real time. I'm working in my Canson XL watercolor paper. I heard that it's quite a good watercolor paper, and I've been using it for some time, and I do love it. But as I always mention, I am not watercolor expert. So I listen to what people says, and then I'm taking it into account. So apparently this is one of the nicest, kind of on the cheap side, watercolor papers. And I don't do that quite often, or not often enough, but I know that when you do watercoloring, you should put the, how do you call it, washi tape or masking tape to put the paper, or to ground the paper, so it doesn't warp later on. So I decided I'm gonna do it today, even though, you know me, I'm working with a white space, so me doing this framing with masking tape is just purely for the fact that I hope the watercolor paper will not warp, because I'm not gonna be adding the paint until the edges of the paper. And I'm gonna be working with Mashas watercolors. Maybe some of you have seen already my video when I was showing you Masha watercolors. They are super beautiful. You can buy them on Etsy. If I don't forget, I'm gonna give you a link in the description box below. And I bought the sample ones. So as you can see, they are just drops of color on the paper, on the watercolor paper. And I'm using them with the brush, putting it first on the palette, and I wanted to transfer it like that to the paper, which was previously sprayed with water. I don't know what's happening with my brush. I was really not happy with it. And I wanted to do kind of a swirls with the brush. I didn't manage, well, I kind of managed, but I am not happy with this brush. It doesn't really work well. And because the samples of Masha watercolors are so small, I am really afraid to put a lot of them on the brush, because I simply don't want them to run out quite quickly, because I really love them. They are the granulated watercolor paints. So, you know, they kind of have this like almost double colors in them. They're really nice. But it was enough to actually change this brush, and now I'm using the Fuumuui brush, and as you can see, I'm doing kind of a swirls on the paper and adding a little bit more of the pigment. And I am working with only two colors of Masha watercolors, forest green and tree bark. So this one is tree bark, and they are both granulated, or as far as I can say, they do granulate. And so basically all the granulation effect depends, once again, as far as I know, on the amount of water or amount of paint you put on the paper. Of course, I'm pretty sure it's gonna depend also on the paper. So look already at that. I'm trying to spread the paint in a kind of like a nice way, with the kind of lines, kind of like a splatter way. And that's why I incline my sprayer bottle, and, you know, making this kind of splatters, I'd say. And I'm adding a little bit of color again, because I wanted so much, since I'm using only two colors, I wanted so much to have the nuances of color which are visible after drying. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm also dabbing the excess of the water, because even though I adhere the paper to the surface, there was water which was accumulating in certain places, and I was afraid it's gonna warp too much and it's gonna just make all the paint, you know, like mix together and it's not gonna give a nice color. So that's why I also have a tissue at hand always when I use or when I paint watercolors, and I dab when I see that there is too much of the water. So here is how the page looks like just after I stopped adding the paint. So everything is wet, as you can see, but you can see already the granulation effect. You can see the blue color even seeping through. And here is the page when it's completely dry. I let it air dry and I absolutely love that. Guys, I use only 2 colors. I really use 2 colors, and look at it. It's so beautiful. I know that there are some companies which have the granulated watercolors, like Schminke, for example. But, you know, if you want to support a small business, I strongly advise you to have a look at Mashas shop on Etsy. And you're gonna be really happy if you like the this effect of watercolor, the granulated effect. This time I'm gonna go to MeiLaing watercolors because I just wanted to get the color which I didn't find in Mashas watercolors, because simply I didn't buy all of them. So, you know, I bought just a small palette of colors, and I wanted to have something more turquoise. And that's why I'm using these watercolors. They are not granulated, and the turquoise is quite strong. And I was thinking that for this technique, which I'm gonna use right now with my stamp so textures, the paint which is a little bit more vibrant, maybe not granulated at all. So here I am, and my technique which I absolutely love. I add a little bit of watercolor on my palette, and I dip my stamp in this mixture, which is not very watery. It cannot be very watery. But if you're not sure if you got the paint all over the stamp, you can also add the paint with the brush, which I just did. And then you just place it, and here we go. That's the stamping effect. So this is the thing I started doing when I was working in Lindisgang, and it's been years and years ago, at least 5 years ago, and I started doing it with magicals, because, you know, I like to experiment, and one day I said to myself, why not stamping with the powders? And you can do it. But I haven't really stamped with watercolors. I did it in one of my last videos, but it was just a small tiny part, and I got a comment from one of you saying, wow, I've never seen watercolor stamping. So I said to myself, okay, maybe this is something I should actually just make a video totally about that, totally about the watercolor stamping. this is so easy to make. The stamps are, you can clean so nicely with just a little bit of water. And the only thing you need to remember is not to make the watercolor very fluid, very watery, because like that, if it's very watery, you will not see the stamp very clearly, because, well, everything will flow, and when there is too much water, you just the stamp image will not be very visible. I keep on repeating the same thing, I think. And that's the other technique. If you have a credit card, or even the edge of the ruler, you can add a little bit of lines. And I love my lines. I love adding them. And look at that, guys, with a stamp and old card, I made actually a very nice, I think, mark making. And everything is this kind of brownish green colors. Very earthy, very nice, very organic look, I think. I really love it. And I'm gonna be also using one more stamp from my Hanging by a Thread stamp set. Firstly, I was thinking I'm gonna make this thing like kind of like, sewing line, but then I decided that I'm gonna use the kind of gibberish line. And well, back to Mashas watercolors, and I'm going for a tree bark. I think I'm gonna finish them quite soon, and the tree bark is one of my favorite colors from this set. Well, not from this set, from the colors I bought from Masha. And this time I'm adding with the brush, because both I think it's kind of maybe better with watercolors if you add it with the brush, as opposed to actually pigments like Lindy's Magicals or infusions from Paper Artsy. I prefer to actually dip the stamp on the colors which are on the palette, instead of adding them with the brush. But for this purpose, for this project, I kind of prefer the brush. And if I don't want to have the whole image stamped, I can just dab it off, the part of the image I don't like, with a tissue, or put a little bit of masking tape or masking paper on the place where I don't want to have any image stamped. And of course, I had some paint left, so I decided to do some splatter. Silly of me, I was trying to do it first with the huge brush. Not a good idea. Already with a small one, I got some big splatter. Like, I didn't really wanted a very big splatter. And even though I have to admit, it's my secret. I don't think it's well-kept secret, but if you're watching my video, you know probably. I love my splatter, but I am not very good at doing it. I really don't use any special techniques. I just, move the brush, and it's not always the good thing to do. But, well, that's me. I decided to add a little bit of golden accents with Signo pen. Not too much, but I was thinking, as you can see, this kind of, beside my finger here, this kind of like a stain of like a kind of brownish color. It kind of almost goes to the gold color. I don't know, almost. So I thought that the gold will match the best this paper, this project. And just the small accents. I didn't want to add too much, and I was hesitating. I was not even sure if I should add, where I should add. And finally, that's the finished page. I really, really love it. I hope you love it too. And I hope I show you a technique which you can use for your projects. As always, thank you so much for subscribing, for hitting the notification bell button, for sharing this video with your friends. And I'm gonna give you a link to Mashas Watercolors, and also to my shop where you can buy my stamps, my stencils, and some other things. And well, I hope I'm gonna see you in my next video. Sending you big hugs, guys. Bye bye.